Okay, thank you. So let me start with our session. So now I'm talking about something different area about the product development and design that is called as a design for manufacturability. Generally, this concept comes after your prototype get developed in the lab. Once you already tested your product or your idea, and then the final terms come, that is the how you are manufacturing your product. But sometimes, most of the time, what happens, your development process is very good. But what happens when you start manufacturing of your product, it gets fails. Why this is so? Because at the time of ideation or prototyping or certification, we do not consider number of parameters required for the your IoT hardware manufacturing. And due to this, either the testing facility or the procedure that we have adopted for the manufacturing get fails, or there is a lots of time and the cost get involved in the manufacturing. So to avoid so many things, we will think about what is the design for manufacturability is there. So first we'll discuss what is the design for development, and then we'll discuss what is the design for manufacturability is there. Then what are the different aspects are there for the design for manufacturability. Then we'll see what are the different steps as an electronics engineer or researcher has to do, so that in future when we try to develop, when we try to manufacture our product in a mass quantity, then there should not be much more cost or variations get involved. Okay, so that all types of things we will look. The things that are included in the design for manufacturability are nothing but just like what are the components that you are selecting, how proper component you are selecting for your prototype or the development phase. Then what are the manufacturers that you are selecting, because once you start manufacturing, you can't say that your manufacturer can't say that, oh, you have to wait for 1 month and then I will supply your components. So likewise, all such things you have to already predict, and you have to do a study once while at the time of prototyping or the development of your IoT hardware or the IoT product. There are other aspects of your design for manufacturability, just like what are the different certifications that you have. Just like yesterday's session in Pratik Bahetis, we have seen there are different certifications we need. So whether you are going for all certification or are you using the pre-certified hardwares and the components in your product, so what you actually are doing, then how you are launching your product, what are the strategies that you are in your product launching. So all such things that we'll see in this today's session. So this is actually somewhat session will look theoretical, but this gives you the another aspect of hardware designing, which actually every researchers and the designers has to understand at the time of they start idea into conversion of prototype and then prototype to product. So we'll start with the what are the different types of designing are there. Mostly electronics engineer working in their great ideas, whatever the ideas are there, they convert that ideas into a great products. Okay, and then these great products they develop in either two forms. One is designing for development and the another is designing for manufacturability. Okay, so generally the designing for development focuses on building working models that meet all the device functional requirements. Just like yesterday, we had someone telling to our expert that they have developed one of the IoT based oximeter device. Okay, so that is what they call as a designing for development. So we are focusing on what is the working model is there, then what are the requirements of that device is there, and we have developed our oximeter. Okay, now the another designing comes, that is called as a designing for manufacturability. In this designing for manufacturing, it focuses on creating working models that can be manufactured in large volumes. Okay, that is very important. It 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 does not necessary that the designing for development, that is the in the first case, whatever the product that you are developed, it will be ready for manufacturing. So at the time of manufacturing, there may be possibility that the developed product is going to be failed in the manufacturing itself. So therefore, at the time of developing your project, the another engineering criteria that you have to identify, and that is called as a designing for manufacturability. The difference between the two is really the difference in the problems they are trying to solve. That is very important. Both are trying to solve the two different problem aspects. Okay, when you design for a development, okay, when we design for a development, we are generally proving that our idea, correct? We are generally proving that whatever the idea is there, whether that idea is going to work, whether that whether then we try to find out whether there are what are the different issues or challenges are there that will help us to work our idea. Then we think about different hardware and software uh, that will deliver the necessary functionality in our hardware, and also we try to think about how users will interact with our device. So these are the some of the aspects that we actually think of in designing for development. Also we think as we refine our design, then or we are working towards the creating look like a prototype models, then then probably we start by using familiar components for what you are having the available components, okay, to just get the thing working. What is the meaning is here that sometimes we think about we make a one IoT device. In the last lecture itself, we have some automation technique. Mr. Arvind Mahapatra has told that says switching on the light in the home, that depending on the PIR sensor. Okay, that is what the simple IoT device that you would like to make, and the whatever the data that you would like to send to the cloud. Okay, so we are not going to think about whether the controller needed is required for the manufacturing is okay or not, whether that controller is readily available to the manufacturers or not. So we'll not think about all those things. What we'll do, whatever the controller board is available with you, it may be a simple Arduino board, it may be any Arduino, it may be any IoT board that you have. You'll start working with it, correct? And then you'll convert your idea into a prototype. And then what you will do, generally we don't think about really which type of hardware is needed for your this product. You directly start developing your product with the available components. Okay, and due to this, what happens when you go to the designing for manufacturability, there is a possibility that the components available in your designing for development phase may be, you may manufacture it, but the problem is that the cost associated with that may increase. So what is the DFM is there? That is the designing for manufacturability. DFM needs to solve a different set of engineering problems. Okay, we can describe the DFM as it is designing the product. Okay, it is designing a product so that it's easy to manufacture. That is very important. That so that we can easily manufacture the product, making assembly as simple as possible, selecting component based on the cost and the performance, and working out your supply chain. See, see what so many different problems associated with the designing for manufacturing. Even at the time of designing for a development of the application, we even not thought about whether that component is available in the market or not, because that control is available with you. You have started working with that, correct? But you are not decided whether you have to go for the manufacturing of that product or not. That's why you are not decided whether the manufacturers are available or not, whether the cost of that product will be very high. No, you just whatever your idea was there, that idea you are just converted into a one prototype. That is what the designing for development is there. And what the designing for manufacturing is saying, there are so many different aspects. That is, what is our assembly line is there, what are the components based on their cost and performance, and what is the supply chain is there, so that when you start the manufacturing, you should have the complete inventory in your company or in your lab. Otherwise, it is going to be failed, correct? So you can say that it is like a project management approach to design with the goal of reducing cost and time to market. Obviously, because when we uh, think about all such things, that is the supply chain, the cost of your components, performance, availability, then which are the manufacturers of your components, all these things. Based on that, easily we can reduce the cost of your the product manufacturing and the time required for the market, correct? Now, other thing, let me again discuss what is the different things which are in the DFM. Inadequate DFM can result in many issues, just like it will disrupt your production. It may be possible that your manufacturer is not providing you all the components required within the time period, or there is no good supply chain. Due to this, there is a too much time required, and due to this, when actual component required is there for your product development, you are not getting the component, or there is a particular supplier for you who is giving you the compounds which are very costly than the available at the other manufacturers. So there are so many other problems due to which it may be possible that it is going to disturb your production. That is, there may be a possibility that the component with which you have designed your product and you have not taken care of all these things, then there may be a possibility that at the last moment you have to change your design, correct? And if this such thing happens, then whatever your launching of your product is there in the market, that may delay. Then there may be an inability to get the parts that you need, correct? Unexpected lead times due to the manufacturer who is not supplying the required components, and due to which there may be a high failure rates of product coming out assembly line, because you are not thought what type of assembly line should be there, correct? At the time of development of product, due to this, there may be a possibility there may be a higher rate of failure in your products. So you may be manufacturing 1000 units in a day, but there may be a possibility you are losing 100 of it, and that also adds the cost in your product. So we'll see what are the different key areas are there to focus in the DFM. Okay, so generally at the time of developing your product, we don't think about all these criteria, but at the time of DFM, we have to think. So what are these criteria are here? The first is selecting components for manufacturing. The other is choosing a manufacturer, then meeting all the certifications and regulatory requirements of your product, and then developing a testing procedure, or we can say developing an assembly line to launch your complete product. So all these aspects we have to think about in the DFM. And when we think about the IoT product, then these all parameters or the keys areas are very stringent, because a simple electronic hardware will not have to meet so many certifications or regulatory requirements, but a IoT device has to meet almost all the certification and regulatory requirement, because without it, it may not be possible to sell that product in different continents of this world, correct? Also, if you do not select a proper components, then there may be possibility the cost of your product is going to be very high. Then we need to select a proper manufacturer, because it will provide you the good supply chain, it will provide you good inventory of your components, so that whatever you are manufacturing or testing that you are doing for your component, for your product, then that you can easily do within the stipulated time period. So we'll discuss first what is the component selection is there. As we know, many components used in initial development work are very likely not optimal or even suitable for a manufactured product. So the part of the DFM process is selecting the exact components that will be used in manufacturing. Why this is so? Because let us think about the example. That's like we are having an application for agriculture. Okay, and in the first lecture, we had a discussion with some participants and the expert, and they had a discussion on some of the sensors or moisture sensors which they are developing and they are installing in their agriculture farm. Now, if that component or that sensor is not readily available or which is not properly selected by the engineer, then what will happen at the time of launching your product in the market, there may be possible that the component is obsolete. Okay, and there is a new product in the market already available. So what will happen at the last moment? You have to change your design, and it is very difficult for any product manufacturer to do all these such things. There are a number of factors that influence the component selections, just like the cost, availability, you have a quality, and how they fit in the finished design. So, okay, so all such criteria you must be in your mind when you are going to select your component. Availability of components is very important because it's good idea to have a future plan for what you will do if a key component is obsolete, okay, during the product launch by your manufacturer. So you must know which is the alternate component you have in your product. So at the time of developing or prototyping your product itself, you must have the alternate component in your mind. Okay, in your list there should be a number of alternative components listed. Okay, and so that if one of the component get obsolete from the manufacturer, then you can start buying another component which is easily available and that you can add in your product and you can start manufacturing your product again. Then there is another criteria, that is the second sourcing. What is the second sourcing is there? That there may be possibility one manufacturer is manufacturing one component, okay, and it is selling to India only. Fine, and but as you are buying it, there may not be that it is manufacturing the component only for you. There are some other big manufacturers in India. They are calling for all these components from that manufacturer or that component supplier. And what happens now that big players, if they stop buying the components, if they stop buying all the components from that supplier, then suddenly that supplier stops sending the component for you. So in that case, there should be a second source or second supplier must be known to you, so that once a supplier stops the supplying you component, then the second supplier should give you the components. The choosing a manufacturer, this is also very important because you need a right manufacturer. That is very important. Okay, right. In the case of manufacturer here, I am talking about the component manufacturer. Okay, I am not talking about the what can I say, the product manufacturer, because you are itself is the product manufacturer here. So I am talking here about the component manufacturers. Correct. So once we have a right manufacturer for your product, then what happens generally, the suppliers or the manufacturer of the components themselves can often make suggestions to us, okay, whether your product design is good or not. That is very important because sometimes there are very good suppliers in the market, they give too much suggestions to you, and according to their components we can develop our design, and that reduces the failure rate of your product. So the most basic consideration is whether you should manufacture your manufacturer is the overseas or onshore. What actually it means that, as you know, most of the components that we will get from either from China or the Taiwan and other manufacturing industry. Okay, from the India, if you try to buy the same type of components, generally they get costly. Okay, so wisely you have to select a supplier or the manufacturer of your component. Otherwise, if you are trying to buy components from the local market, and it may be possible that it is going to add a cost in your product. So, therefore, but again the question comes, shall we always go for the overseas manufacturing component manufacturers? That is not like that, because there is a significant cost advantage, but they come with logistical challenges, because there may be possibility that, just like last year between the China and India, we had some border dispute, and due to this, suddenly the what you can say, the import from the China delayed or stopped, and due to this again, we have seen that in most of the industries, the production stopped. So all such things happens if you directly go with only overseas manufacturer. So also you should have a second source of offshore or the local manufacturer that should give you the components when needed. So it generally partially depends on your product you are manufacturing, and therefore how many components you are manufacturing, that is very important. Okay, if you are just manufacturing 100 products or 1000 products, it is not good a choice to select a manufacturer overseas, because a monthly or either within a 2 months you are just developing only a 1000 product, then it will be good to go with a manufacturer or supplier who is supplying within the local reach. Okay. Then another criteria that we have to think about in the DFM is the certifications. And already we have discussed about the different certification in the last lecture. As we know, most of the devices, mostly in the IoT, at least in electronics and the IoT, we need so many certification and regulatory requirements. Correct? Whether it's simple basic UL certification, that is the Underwriter Laboratories certification, or we have a Federal Communications Commission certification, that is the FCC, for your wireless devices, that is IoT devices, or any other special certifications are there for your wearable devices or medical devices. You have to have a plan in your mind itself at the time of developing, prototyping your product itself. The certification process can be costly. Remember that it is going to be costly, and it may take months. It may take the time in the months itself. Okay, therefore it may be going to delay your, what can say, the product launch. Okay, so therefore all the certification must be completed before we begin manufacturing. Okay, planning for all the certification is very important in the design for manufacturing, because it is going to influence component selection. At the time of itself, it is going to influence, because there may be a components available in the market which are already having the certification, which are having already required regulatory. Correct? So therefore, why to think about at the end of product development? You have to start at the start of your product designing and development itself, because it will reduces your time of product to the market. Then the last, we can say a developing testing procedure, or we can say the developing your assembly line. So when manufacturing begins, you need to be able to test our product which is coming from our assembly line. That is we call as a quality assurance. Correct? And so we already plan in your mind that what are the different testing procedures that I need to do with my product. So how to I have to debug when if there is a fault, or if I have to check my product after it get finished, what are the different procedures are there that you should have in your mind. Otherwise, you have developed your product and then you are thinking about, oh, these are the some of the procedures that I have to test. Then your quality assurance, what do you say, the sale don't know where to test your product, which is the procedure is there, where to suppose there is a one manpower is available who's testing your product, but there is no test point available on your PCB. So how it is going to be manufactured, correct? So we are not going to test that product after your assembly line. So that maybe increases your failure rate. Therefore, at the time of prototyping or developing your product itself, you must have the testing procedures in your mind so that whatever the PCB that you develop for your electronics hardware or for your IoT device, you can have a testing points itself. Or there may be a possibility you have some changes in your software in a such a way that you can debug it through wirelessly. Or you know that the set-top box in our home, the softwares of that set-top box get automatically updated. Even we have the mobile phones, their softwares get automatically updated. So what is this? It means that our OS is taking care of all these things, and so all such things already should there in your product at the time of development. So even at the time of developing, even though there is some any bugs are may be found, then through such different ways we can remove that bugs and we can have the improved version of your product. Therefore, the quality analysis not only being able to test your product, but it is also being able to perform the statistical analysis on what's working, what's going to break, and how the process is performing. This will increase the your product quality and it reduces the cost. Okay. So therefore, designing this capability into your assembly line or in your product, then your manufacturing process will be a key part in your testing procedure or in the DFM. So, okay, so we'll discuss each and every component in detail. So the first point is the selecting components for manufacturing. This is very important part, whether it is electronics hardware or whether it is electronics hardware or you can say we have any IoT product. The selection of components is very important, correct? Therefore, let we discuss about this. What is the select? Already we have discussed about the selecting of the components. Let me again discuss it in more detailed point. So when we are designing for development, generally we choose parts that we are familiar. That is always we do. Most of the researchers or we always do this thing. That is, which are the components that are familiar with us that we try to select first. Correct? Because the models and the control that we have already used before makes our development easier. Correct? That is, I think you all are agree with me. But once you have got working prototype, you often find that those components used in this development don't meet the other requirements. Okay, so it may be that they don't fit in your final product package. You have thought that oh, your product should look like a 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter, but you have selected a capacitor, through-hole capacitor, which is itself has a height of say 1 centimeter. Then how you are going to fit that component in your product size? So therefore, that is also a problem. Then, or there may be the component is not suitable for the environment where the product will be used, because at the time of developing your product, you have selected the component which has a temperature range of say up to only 50 degrees Celsius. But the product that you are manufacturing and you found that, oh, you are manufacturing the product for the military grade and you are not selected that component. So all such things should be, we have to decide when we develop a product for the manufacturing, or sorry, when we select the components for the manufacturing. So we have to select a components generally which are going to simplify our design. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen that you select your components in a such a way that you are making your design very complex, and that should not happen, because look, on what are the manufacturers are there, just like the TI, Analog Devices, on Semiconductor, STM, or any other Intel, any other manufacturers are there for your components. Generally, they provide us the reference designs, and that help us to select the proper components. Otherwise, if you randomly select the components which are just known to you, and your prototyping working properly, it does not mean that whatever the final product you are manufacturing may be very good, okay, and will be acceptable to the market. So while selecting the components for manufacturing, what are the different factors that you have to think about? Choosing components for manufacturing involves a number of trade-offs. Okay, why I am calling here the trade-offs? Because we know that all these criteria we cannot fulfill while selecting the components, and as even as in India, it's very difficult for the engineers to fulfill almost all the criteria for the components, because the first thing is that we do not have a component manufacturers, more component manufacturers in the India. We do not have a proper assembly lines, and therefore we generally have to think about the trade-offs, and at least we have to meet most of the criteria while selecting the components. That just like we have a, what is the component package is there, what is the cost of your component is there, what is the quality of your component is there, what is the availability of your component is there, what are the different certification already your components are made. So all these different criteria we should have to think about. So just like the cost, the component cost is always important, correct? Because that is going to make a cost of your final product, and this cost is going to be influenced by different factors, just like what is, whether that availability of your component is, where it is available, whether overseas it is available or locally it is available. Then what is the different sources for that component. There may be possibility that you are using a component who is manufactured by only one company, and due to this there may be possibility that the cost of that component may be high, correct? And the nature of the part, whether that part is specially manufactured by any particular application, just like for medical or wearables or industrial control. So that components may be the specialized components, and due to this their cost may be high. In that case we can't do, okay, because that are specialized components and that is not in our hand. But if you have the alternate components, or if you have, sorry, if you have a general components, and if you know the alternate sources or different alternate components, try to go for the other components also. So we can say that the product design may call for a specific branded part. Okay, as you know that there are many mobile phones, they are till date now very costly because the components they are using still the date they are very branded. Okay, because even you know that the Apple itself advertised that even it falls from 5 to 10 kids, it is not going to break your glass, and even it will work as it is. There are many mobile phones they are advertising that you can use that mobile phone under the water. There are such type of the uh, proficiencies there with the some of the component manufacturers that therefore due to this product manufacturer itself gives you the quality to the customers. Why this is so? Because they are using the branded parts. Okay, but the problem associated with the branded part is that they are expensive. Okay, and therefore we can look for equivalent lower cost of brand parts. Okay, but we have to compare all the specifications and you have to make all the judgments about the reliability and the availability of the components. If you have any questions, meanwhile, you can put in the chat box. Okay, so that I will stop and I will continue with the session. Okay. The another factor is the size. This is very important because the component size often decides the product size. And if you have already locked down the what you are using for your charging circuit, and say what you are using for your microcontroller, let me take an example of a simple we can say the IoT board, and say it has a one controller and it has a one charging unit, or say power supply unit is there. Now already you have decided that this is my charging unit, okay, or this is my power supply unit and this is my controller unit. Okay, and you have not taken any alternate choice with your microcontroller. You have not taken any alternate choice with the reference designs of the manufacturer. So due to this, what will happen? If you already finalized your design for your some of the part, then already the size of that component will be fixed. Okay, and you can't do with the other part. Then you have obviously you have to change the size of your complete product, not the size of your that particular part, because you have already decided. Okay, therefore we should at least in our mind what are the alternate sources are there of your component having the lesser sizing. Okay, but again we must be cautious. There may be always the sometimes we tell our students that, oh, go for the SMD components always. Okay, therefore your product size will be less, and that will be look like a very branded product. And we tell the students like this, and they bring the all the such type of SMD components, and they start design the PCB for that SMD components, and they develop your product. Okay, but always using the surface mount technologies just because they look more professional will not give you the exact what you wanted in your product. Just like different packages are there. That is, the product packages or SOM packages. These packages need a very good assembly and inspection line. Okay, we need a very good assembly and inspection line. So when we go for the manufacturing, what happens? That product needs the different kind of assembly line itself, which is actually not needed for the components whose size is bigger than the SMD component. Correct. So at the time of manufacturing, you can keep aside the assembly and inspection line of the SMD components if you are using the components whose size is greater than the SMD component. Therefore, that also you have to think in your mind at the time of developing your component, which is going to the manufacturing phase. Okay. So therefore, you have to take a trade-off that at the time of manufacturing, I will develop everything. So obviously, you have to go for the components which are always in a lesser size. Right? If the space is always constrained, then do not prevent you from using the large component. Then you should go with the larger component packages. Okay, remember that. Whatever the product you are developing or manufacturing, and you have a choice that you can develop a product having 1 inch greater than that. Okay, if you use a assembly component, then say your final product size will be only by lesser than 1 centimeter. And if it is possible, if you can increase the size by 1 centimeter itself, then you can go with the larger component packages. That will help to reduce the assembly and the inspection line in your final manufacturing Okay. Then the another is the quality. As we know, the quality and cost generally go hand in hand, correct? Because if you want more quality, then the component cost will be high. And if you want lesser quality, there may be possibility the cost is less. So generally, most of the engineers or the researchers, with our own experience, uh, we bring the trusted brands. Just like uh, in our last project, we actually decided to get the components from the Texas Instrument itself for our IoT product. And at that time, we know that the components from the TI are the branded. So just blindly we have taken all the specification, and whatever the cost of that component is there, we have bought them. Okay, so depending on our own experience, we can buy the quality components. But there is a one thing that you have to keep in mind, that is, what if a cheaper option is available? Okay, choosing alternate parts means digging out in your specification of different components. There may be possibility. That's why you go to the DigiKey and the Mother Electronics or such type of websites. These are the suppliers, and you know that if you put say DDO, or if you put say simple voltage regulator, and or if you put simple any different ICs which are having a different work, you will get a different options there. And try to go through the specification of all these components, that and go through the cost of this product components. So you will understand that whether to go with a particular component or not. Okay? Because what happens sometimes, the, the specifications and the warranties are not so clear on the non-branded parts or non-branded components which are getting from the different suppliers. Okay, therefore that also you have to keep in mind, and therefore it comes with the risk whether the quality of your final product is going to be good or not. Correct. So therefore, using a component in a inexpensive toy, just like take an example. Suppose if you have a simple toy is there in your home, okay, and you have brought at around say 400 or 500 rupees. Then at that time, generally we don't think about the quality of their electronics or the RF circuit is used in the toy, because we know that even most of the toys that we buy from the made in China, that we think uh, already we said they are written there is no warranty. What actually it says that all these components are non-branded, and due to this their cost is very less. Okay, and therefore, but due to the non-warranty, it may be possible that within a 2 days it may be going to fail. Okay, but when we think about the quality of the product, then whatever the branded components or hardware components used in the product, then itself they gives us the different warranty, and with which they last for longer duration. Then using the pre-certified components, this will also help us, because selecting the pre-certified components, especially in case of the RF connectivity in IoT products, because certification is very costly and it is a time consuming process, and therefore it maybe increases the cost of your final product. So what we can do, try to buy a different components which are having pre-certification. So what actually it helps, that we can reduce the time of your product to the market, and another thing is that we can easily certify our final product. Then the component availability and the second sources, obviously this is also very important. And let me discuss about the final thought on this, selecting the components for manufacturing. So what actually as a researchers or product developer we have to do? in the early stages of your designing and developing a prototype, it's important to prevent a component selection from holding you back. Okay, don't think that at the final stage you can stop your manufacturing. Okay, therefore you select a component in such a way that even though if your product goes to the manufacturing, you can start on the next day. Therefore, if you know how to use a part, use it to speed your development process. Okay, remember that if you just want to develop, or say if you just want to check whether your idea is working or not, uh, as a my personal opinion, or most of the developers will tell you that whatever the components available in your lab, try using that and develop just your idea. Okay, and develop your prototype. Once it works very well, then in the second phase of prototyping, use the components which are the having a good specification, less cost, having a good quality. In case of RF, that is the wireless connectivity, they are must be pre-certified. Okay, why this is so? Because at a time of in many colleges, there is one thing people do. They force the students that learn this platform, learn this hardware, and then develop the hardware. Generally, students tell us that I know Arduino, I know ES32, or sometimes they tell us that, oh, I know the Raspberry Pi. But as we as a guides or as a faculty, if you are good at the STM microcontrollers, then we tell them that no, you go through the STM microcontrollers only, or you just go through the PIC microcontrollers only, because you are aware with that component. But that is not a good thing, because most of the time the researchers or the students stuck with the learning the architecture of new hardware. And due to this, what happens now, the development of idea takes more time. And then we thought that these students are not doing work, or who is the researcher in our guidance is not doing anything. So my personal opinion is that whether they are our students or researcher, give them a free hand and ask them to validate their idea with any architecture they know. So let me think about the choosing a manufacturer. This is also one of the most important decisions that we need to make as we prepare our product for volume production. Excuse me. Remember that choosing the right manufacturer is very important key factor in a successful product launch. When choosing a manufacturer, it is a good idea to begin as early as possible. What actually it means that if you at a time of suppose already your prototype is developed, and now you are moving ahead to make your development or prototype for manufacturing purpose. So now in that case, you have to decide with the different manufacturers which should provide you all such things which is required for volume production. Okay, this is a website, a Texas Instrument. Let me discuss something about here. This topic here is the secure IoT gateway reference design for Bluetooth, low energy, Wi-Fi, and sub 1 gigahertz nodes. Okay, so what actually importance of this type of topics available on this websites? We know that TI is one of the largest manufacturer of different electronics and IoT components. Okay, so if we are still in the early stages of our product and have not finalized all aspects of our design, what actually we have to do? Put all information together based on the similar design. Okay, why this is so? Most of the such type of reference designs are already available on the internet by the manufacturers. So what happens? These many products are heavily dependent on the reference design. Okay, so what actually it means that if you go through the reference design of these products, you'll get almost all the things which is needed for developing the particular application. So what we can do, take that reference design. Okay, take that reference design, use what you need. Okay, suppose this is a simple reference design for Bluetooth low energy Wi-Fi and sub 1 gigahertz nodes. Okay, but in that only you need a reference design for Wi-Fi. So you just need a reference design for Wi-Fi. You just pick that reference design, and whatever you don't need it, then you just scrap it because you don't need for your application. But so many reference designs are already available to the manufacturers, whether they are your TI, Analog, any manufacturers you can find, they have the reference good designs. This help us to develop our product at the manufacturing level. Okay, so when generally I give the application to my students, any idea whether that is, we know that even undergraduate students, they can develop a small IoT products. I ask them to go through this such type of reference designs, and I ask them to get something from this reference design and try make your own PCB. And also what happens, most of the footprints and everything is available for these devices by this manufacturer. This reduces the time required to make your own product. Okay, and the students easily understand what is the reference design is there and how they have developed the battery charging unit, or then how they have developed the low power circuit, how they have developed the Wi-Fi unit, how they have developed the antenna unit on the that PCB. So all these things easily the students or the researchers can understand from the reference design, and that will help easily uh, increase the quality of your product. You want to see, this is another product, a solar dice, a sensor node in the Internet of Things reference design. So already a complete reference design is available. So I urge most of you that you please go through such type of reference designs. See, here are so many power management ICs and their control and so many things they already used. And their reference design is complete circuit diagram with the PCB layouts are available. So whichever part is needed for you, you keep with in your design and discard other thing. So obviously it is going to increase your development process. I hope you are understanding what I am saying here. If you have still any questions, you can ask me. Am I audible to all of you? Okay. Let me. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all of you. So let again discuss the choosing a manufacturer in detail. When selecting a manufacturer, there are two fundamental things or ideas you should keep in mind. One, that the whatever the manufacturers are there, they are specialized in manufacturing the things. So they know already how to manufacture the compounds. So they already know all such things. Okay. Therefore, what happens now? Why I'm actually urging all the people to go through such things, because generally when we start developing our IoT products or any electronics products, generally we are not the expert in the thing. Okay, or even all the things which in which the manufacturer is expert, or the manufacturer is specialized there. We are not expertise at that level. So generally, if you select a particular manufacturer who is specialized in the providing a manufacturing a particular component or the process, then that manufacturer will also help you in providing you the manufacturing process for your product. Okay. Therefore, what happens actually, these manufacturers may be the specialized in their manufacturing the components, but they may not be good or the expert in designing the products. Correct? But they are really good at making. Just like if you take the example of the TI, in order the part, say it is considered CC430, ultra low power wireless controller. And if you think about, they are manufacturing that same component over and over, over and over. So already they know that how to manufacture that component, what is the design specifications are there, how to use that component in your design, and what are the things that has to be taken care while using that component. Correct? Though whatever the application that you are developing, uh, in which they may not be the expert, but whatever the component we want to use in our product, in which they may be the expertise. So their reference designs are very useful to us. Therefore, we should take the feedbacks from such type of manufacturers for your product, which will help us to streamline our, we can say, the manufacturing process, or we can say developing process. And the another thing is, the manufacturers has the ability to manage a supply chain. Correct. This is very important. Even you just take you even buy a component from US or from China or any other country, you don't have to take care of how your component is reaching to you. This manufacturer generally manage all complete supply chain. Okay, whether that component has to go through a air or through a train or by any means. Okay, so whatever the supply chain is there, what that supply chain they think about. So therefore, manufacturers know how to maintain complete inventories of materials. Okay, generally what happens at the time of development of your product, we need to submit a bill of materials to the manufacturers. So depending on how much products or products that you are manufacturing in your unit, therefore these manufacturers try to keep the inventories of materials alive in your unit. So therefore, we should find a good contractor who is like a bank for you, correct? Because if you want someone that is going to give you a good payment terms and that's going to purchase a inventory. What is actually here means that let us consider once you submit a bill of materials to the supplier or the manufacturer of the components, and if you have good contract with that manufacturer, then what happens? Whatever the components that we are using on in our product line, we give them a real-time data of your inventory to our supplier. Generally, we don't think about all such things. The supplier will note down all the inventory consumption in our unit. Sorry, actually, I have not unmuted myself. I think I missed from this point, I think. Yeah. From where actually you stop listening? This is a slide, I think you stop listening, correct? Okay, this one. Okay. So what actually I'm talking about, that is we should choose a manufacturer with having the capabilities and experience of manufacturing the same type of product like ours. Okay, why this is so? Because uh, our manufacturer may be specialized in the particular manufacturing thing, correct? Therefore, therefore, what are the technical details of manufacturing? Say any product that you are manufacturing, it has some technical details, and the what are the assembly of your product that we are doing, we may get the suggestions from the manufacturer of your component, because already that manufacturer is aware about the our technology, correct? Therefore, we get the particular reference design from the manufacturer, we get the suggestions on our assembly line, we get the testing procedures on our technology. So therefore, it is very important that if possible, the manufacturer should be familiar with our technology. Then next point comes with the sometimes it's our customers' preference, because we know there are many critical applications in which the customer tells us that this is the specific component that you have to use in your application. Just like if you take the example of say any medical equipment, or and say industrial equipment, or say any agricultural equipment, or say any specialized application is there from your customer, for which we are developing our product. And what will happen that the customer tells us that this is the particular component that you have to use in the product. This is a particular supplier or the manufacturer that you have to buy the components. So that actually, in that case, generally, as a developer, we can't do much more things, because most of the things are the customer dependent. But still, as a developer, we should have alternate ways of the uh, design, as well as alternate sources and the components, so that even in future, if you would like to provide a solution to the customer, then then easily we can provide that. The another criteria that comes to the pricing, as we know, the transparent pricing is very important between the manufacturer and the product developer, because we must know how much we are paying for the material, for the labor cost, then for what are the different overhead charges are there, then what will be the what will be the profit of that manufacturer is there. So there should be a clear cut idea, or we can say a clear picture of the pricing between your manufacturer of component and the developer, so that you can think about uh, the final product cost in your product development. The fourth comes with the payment terms. So generally, most of the manufacturers have specified the payment terms for both current and the future orders that I think we generally do as a developer when we go for the manufacturing. Then the quality, uh, we must have the clear picture or the clear outline on terms of workmanship, then the return of the components, then the warranties, Then if there is any defect in the product, whether how much period of time the warranty or the returns will be provided by the manufacturer. So all such types of terms should be already there in your manufacturer of component and the developer. And the final point comes to be the liabilities. What actually liabilities? Liabilities is very important. Okay, we know that as soon as our product leaves the factory, okay, then whose liability will be there? If something happens to a human body or some damage happens to a customer due to a product which is manufactured by us, but we have used the components of some third party. So who is going to be liable to that such type of damages? So, okay, so there should be a particular, we have to write a contract between the component manufacturer and the developer in advance itself, so that if any such things happens in future, then whoever is going to be liable, then that help us to get the insurance and other things get settled as early as possible. Then next, we'll think about the different certifications and regulatory requirements. As we know, when we're preparing for a device or product or for a component for manufacturing at scale, that is at you can say volume production, the important or can say the essential step is that we complete the product certifications, right? And as we know, the certification testing provides assurance that whatever the device that we are manufacturing can operate safely, and it will provide the operation that it will not interfere with other devices in its normal operating environments, correct? So therefore, whatever the assurance you want, you should meet all the certifications and the regulatory requirements. This also gives a confidence in the product developer that your product is going to be easily sell in the different continents of the this world. Okay, so we have if you would like to go to the US, we have different regulatories are there, so we have to sell there. So if you are already approved or if you have a certification, then you can easily change your region wise selling of the products. So let's try to think about different regional certification requirements which we needed for any electronics hardware or the IoT devices. So already in the last lecture by Mr. Pradeep Baheti, we have gone through all these certifications, but I will talk only about why these certificates are needed for the IoT devices. So the first is the UL, that is the Underwriters Laboratories Test. This is the test for safety of products that plug directly into the AC line power. This is very important. So what is this UL? It gives us the test for the safety of the products which we connect directly to the AC power. So any component that we directly connect to the AC power will have this UL certification. So we can check either your mobile chargers or the laptop chargers or monitors which are directly get connected with your AC power, and you will find at the back of these devices there is a UL certification, and this UL certification tells us that it is the it provides the safety to the customers. US certification is generally not a legal requirement in most of the countries, just like in India. It is also not legally requirement to sell such type of devices, because you know that you will get the some of the devices in the market who will not having the US certification, but they are in the market. So it is therefore it is not legal in our country. But if other countries, just like the China or USA, those who are selling such type of products, they generally having the UL certification. Because what happens, these companies have their own contracts with these different insurance companies, and therefore, and as this is deal with the safety of the product, if something happens with the product or to the customer, then the insurance generally cover with under this with this UL certifications. The third is the second is the CSA, that is the Canadian Standard Association. Generally, it is used in Canada, which is almost equivalent to UL. That is, generally UL you will find uh, in most of the European and Indian and Chinese countries. You can see even if you buy any Chinese product, they will have this CS in UL as well. What is the That's why you can see they can sell their compounds in most of the countries itself. They take the certifications from most of the certificating regulatory bodies. Due to this, whatever the compound they manufacture, they sell it to the most of the countries who are having their own certification regulatory bodies. So therefore, just like even in many products, you know that, or you can say the Canada or even in America, just like the UL, generally people take the legal certification in the America, whereas the CSA you can think about the your Canada. In the same case, there is another certification is the C, which is for the European Union, and you'll find that the Chinese product, most of the Chinese product, they will have this UL, CSA, and C certification. So due to this, they can sell these products in most of these countries. Also, one thing we need to remember that uh, the Americans allowed, USA allowed the CSA as an alternate to the UL, as well as the Canada allowed the alternate to the UL. It means that if your product is certified by with the UL regulatory body, then you can sell the same product in the Canada itself. Or if the product is certified by the CSA, that is the Canadian Standard Association, then you can sell the same product in USA also. So they are interchangeably, you can say, the certification required bodies are. But both this UL and CSA not recognized or approved in the European Union. Okay. Then the next third is the FCC, that is the Federal Commissions for Federal Communications Commission. This is a standard for RF radiation from electronic devices. This is very important for IoT devices. As you know, you buy any Bluetooth module, Wi-Fi module, or any such type of devices, whether it is LoRa WAN, LP WAN, or any type of RF device for your IoT devices, they will come with this FCC certification. So it is very important that if you are making your own product, you should take this FCC certification. But remember that the cost of this FCC certification is very, very high. Therefore, if you buy a module, or a Wi-Fi module or Bluetooth module already which is FCC certified, then there is no then the final product does not need the FCC certification. But in some cases, the FCC certification is also needed to if you want to sell the product in the USA. Okay, but in that case, FCC has normalized the some of the parameters for the specification to your product, which are using only the compounds which are already FCC certified. So the FCC includes the devices designed to transmit RF signals, such as wireless devices and devices containing oscillators or a microprocessor that radiate the RF noise. So all such devices comes under the category of the FCC. So if you have such component in your product, then obviously you have to go for the FCC certification. We should meet the FCC standard, and this is a legal requirement in India as well. Okay, actually, directly FCC is not required, but which is under the BIS, it is legally required in India also. So what actually FCC has done? FCC has done its certification in two types. So, okay, the first is the intentional radiator certification. What? Okay, and the second is non-intentional radiator certification. So I hope you are understanding. So FCC has two types of certification. One is intentional radiator certification, another is non-intentional radiator certification. So if the product intentionally radiates RF waves, then it has a stricter certification process, and that cost more. Okay, and if it is a non-intentional radiator, then generally the cost and the process required for such devices is less. Let us take an example. You are making your own IoT device. Okay, as you are going to sell that product in the market, but you know that you need FCC certification. But what you do at the time of developing your product, you buy a OEM model, and just like say any ESP32 or any Wi-Fi model from any device, just like say TI or other, and already that device is FCC certified. It means that that device comes under the category of intentional radiator certification, because we know that the Wi-Fi module itself is going to emit the RF signal. Therefore, they are the intentional devices, and they comes under the category of intentional radiator certification. And this is already done by your manufacturer. Therefore, now you are using that component in your product. Okay. Now what you can do? We can directly go for the non-intentional radiator certification. Why this is so? Because whatever the component that you are used already certified for the intentional radiator certificate, and therefore for the product that you have developed or you would like to manufacture, you should just go for the non-intentional radiator category. Okay, there are such type of procedures available under the FCC. Again, very important that the FCC is not recognized in the Europe. So we can say that UL, CSA, and FCC are not recognized in the USA. So if you want to sell your product to the USA only, or the Canada or this type of countries, then you should go for US, CSA, and FCC. And if you want to sell your product in the European Union, then you have to go for C. That is the conformity of European. Okay. So it is a European Union certification that all combines all UL and FCC certification. So it means that whatever the FCC and UL, all such subsets are there. Actually, in C, there are some of these subsets available. So under the category of this subset, you will have a UL certification is there. You have a FCC certifications are there. So therefore, if you would like to sell your product in the European continent, then you must have a CE certification. Then the final one of the part comes to the RoHS, and we know that disease comes as a restriction of hazardous substances. So mostly wearable devices, then medical equipments, then the sensors which are used for the food manufacturing. So all such devices come with the RoHS certification. So this is a standard designed to minimize the use of certain hazardous materials such as lead in the electrical compounds. So whichever the electrical compounds that we are using in this type of application, generally they come with the RoHS stack or the standard, and it means that these devices do not contain the hazardous substances. Remember that major certifications have many different subsets, so it does not mean that directly you go to the underwriter laboratories and ask them for the UL certification. No, this is not like that. Under the UL, there are different certification. Under the FCC, again, there are different certification. And also under the CE, there are different subsets are available. and particular numbers are available for these subsets. For medical application, there are different subsets. For wearable devices, there are separate subsets, and depending on the application or type of device, there are different subsets are available. And as you can see that so even though there is a UL certification of your device, under that logo there will be a particular symbol available. Sorry, particular number is available, and that number defines the product for which the UL certification is taken, or for which the CE certification is taken. So you just, if you have a laptop right now, if you have a laptop and if you have a charger, you just check, there will be a UL, and under that symbol there will be some specific number written over there, and that number itself gives you the subset under the UL certification. Just like if you take the example, medical or industrial equipment, they both will have a different standards for the than your consumer devices. So there are many such standards available for each and every component, starting from your PCBs, electrical components, then your antennas, even whatever the antennas you are going to use with your Wi-Fi module. If you are connecting it separately, then also it has a different subset standard is available, and that you have to certify initially. Okay. So I think this is good with the different certification requirement. Then the next term comes with the what are the different certification strategies that you have to take care while we go for our product for the development of for the certification process. So generally, we can say that the certification strategies for certifications generally begin early in our design process itself. Okay, as we know, because we are the component choice is at the design process itself. So if you are selecting the component at the design process itself, or at the starting of your design process itself, so it means that the certification strategy should start at the design process itself. Okay, so let us take an example. I will give an example here for the certificate strategy. Let our device, that is IoT device, will have wireless function. Okay, so one option is to design the RF section ourselves. So obviously, what was the option that in my last presentation also I said that whether we have to make or buy. So say one option is let we develop or design the RF section our own. So that means we have to get the costly international radiator FC certification. Okay, that we have to take into. And the another the option is that let use the pre-certified wireless modules for our wireless RF section. Correct. So it is up to us at the time of design process for which method you have to select, or which type of component you have to select, whether you have to develop the particular section our own, or we have to buy a module which is already certified for our product. Okay, so I think most of the things are discussed for these certification strategies. And then finally comes to the launching of your product. As we know, the product launch happens after we have perfected an idea, we have validated it, we have built it as per our requirement, and we have tested it as per our the features and the requirement in the application. Then we have proven that for the market, and we have refined our design to a point we can say where it can be cost effectively for the manufacturing. Okay, and then now then at this time we have to think about to launch our product in the manufacturer. I mean here the launch is that the manufacturing the component in a large quantity, or in the in volumes. As we know, by this time, what are the parameters that I said? By this time, generally, what are the stakeholders in our industry or in the product development? They have generally invested significant time and money to make our innovation ready for the manufacturing. That includes our resources for prototyping, tooling for manufacturer, then certification testing and all such things. Therefore, lots of amount already we have invested. Okay, and when we try to launch a product, then we have to again think about two types of things. One is the pilot production, another is the final production. Okay, because see why I am discussing here how much you are investing in your development of the product or your hardware, then depending on that and also depending on the quantity, we should think about whether to go for the pilot production or whether we have to go for the final production. So generally, what is the pilot production is there? Generally, it begins only after we have completed the prototyping, we have taken the review of our design, we have validated all the design requirements, then we have set our complete assembly line, and we have completed our all testing procedures, and we have completed some of the pre-certifications required for our product. Now in this time, we can start with the pilot production. So what actually you have to do here? Before moving to the pilot production, as Bothra sir said, that before going to your field, you have to test your product as much as possible. Okay, so whichever number of is required to test your product, you test it. You test your design, you test your procedures, all the things you do first, and then you have to go for the pilot production. Generally, the number of units that we build in the pilot production depends on the nature of the product, and most of the times it may be 50, 100, or it may be 10,000. Sorry, it may be 1,000 or 2,000 only. Okay, just like if your part is very small and its requirement is to the customer is at the initial stage is very high, then you can go with the pilot production directly with the large quantity of say 1,000 or 2,000. But if there is any medical equipment which is already costing you lakhs of rupees for the manufacturing a single quantity, then obviously you should not go for manufacturing the thousands of units at a time. You start with 10, 15 units, then go with the 1,500. You know that there are many manufacturers for the oscilloscopes or your specific vector network analyzers for such devices, and they do not manufacture this device in volume quantity. Why this is so? Because their requirement in the market is less. Also, the requirement of customer changes with their products. Due to this, most of the manufacturers of such type of devices keep their production in the pilot production itself, so that as the requirement of the customer changes or the requirement of the market changes, again they can change the design procedure and they can again keep the product in a pilot production itself. And if your product is successful and its requirement in the market is very high, then finally from the pilot production to final production we can go. So this is a very tough decision for any manufacturers, product manufacturers, because when we go for the final production, a complete assembly line we have to set up, a complete manpower we have to set up, we have to recruit all such manpower for your units, and depending on your customers and the market survey, finally you can go for the final production. So the final production mostly you have to take care of your business model, because there may be possibility that whatever the business model that you are using may give you the more returns Okay, so at the time of final production, you must know that whatever your first phase is there of launching of your product should recover the complete uh, your let's say capital cost and the your development cost. Okay, so finally we can say that over the period of time for the products, or whether it is electronics product or the IT product, we should have a manufacturing refinement. We should have a continuous innovation and development for a successful product that creates its own ecosystem of our ongoing engineering, and it gives us the commercial support that can go on for many years as our units are there, our products are there. So with this, I'm going to end my session here. I hope this is the new area with which I have touched, uh, which is going to helpful the most of the researchers in the faculty member. Hope as there are many industry persons also there in our sessions, they may already know all such procedures. So thank you all of you for this joining the session. Now I'm open with the question and answer session. If you have any doubts, you can ask me, or you can directly write in the chat box itself, so that I'll try to give the answers for them. Okay, I am also given uh, right to unmute you. Okay, now if you have a doubts, you can unmute yourself and you can directly ask the question. Okay, I think I know this is the topic which is going to be something different than exactly what is the IoT that we think about. But as our theme was the product design and development, so we touch a topic which is also required for the engineers, the developers, and also the manufacturers to think about. Yeah, can you share the manufacturer contacts? Yeah, sure. I will try to share some of the contacts to you in our WhatsApp. Okay, so thank you all of you for joining this session. Tomorrow we'll have a lecture. Actually, we have a lecture by Mahavaji Prabhuji from the ISKCON. The lecture is on the stress-proof technology. So in this era, how we can keep ourselves as a stress-proof, for which he is going to talk. By profession, Mahavaji is a MD-based doctor, and spiritually he is working with the ISKCON. He is associated with many of the industries as well as the engineering colleges, and they are giving their thoughts and the you. We'll meet tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. again.